target. Sector Bravo, deep. Vehicle, belt-fed weapon.
Range it.
$870 yards in closing. Wind, 3/4 value, push to left. 900 yards. Wide spot on the road.
On target.
All scope. Fire when ready. Hit.
Command post, this is Viper. Hostile threat down, over.
Hey guys, it's Seriously, aka Humphrey, as most friends know me here on Steam, and today I'm going to be bringing you an Arma 3 ACE3 sniper tutorial. Now we're going to go quite in-depth here, so it's going to be a long video, but I highly encourage you to check back often if you are missing anything or forget anything, or at least just watch the whole thing through if you got the patience for that. So we're going to cover a lot, so we're going to get into a video overview as well as the website overview, what features we have, and some tools overview. Throughout the video we're going to be sampling the tools. So first off, what I'm using is the virtual, I'm using the 360-degree training course, the ACE version, given to me by Ruthberg, the lead developer. He's a great guy. And I'm going to link that in the description here. And you can download it and put it in its missions, throw it in an editor, and you've got a mission where you can put all sorts of things. See in my my scroll menu wheel here, we've got, we can place targets, we can turn on bullet camera, we can check impact, and we can check some stats as well. So that's really useful. Definitely a good thing to have if you want to like test out your shooting skills or something. So first off, I spawned in an ACE miscellaneous items box. So I just threw that in editor, and that's what you're going to need. If you're coding in any missions for ACE, make sure to spawn this in for your snipers. They'll love you for it. They're going to need this stuff. So first off, we're going to look at what gear we're going to need. The weapon I'm using is the M200. It's chambered in 408 SHATAC, known as the Intervention by some people. And we're going to go ahead and throw an optic on it here first. Now I threw this in here myself. It doesn't actually spawn with the miscellaneous items box. It gives you two different LRPS, but we're going to use the LRPS 6 times to 25 times scope. Long range precision scope is my favorite scope, and it's using mil dots in the reticle, so that's why I like it. It's something most shooters know and are familiar with. So basically, if you want to correct off mils, or if you want to range a target with the mils, that can be covered in a different video. It's sort of not something you want to do on the fly. It's just something you might want to know to do with mils. And so there's also two other LRPSs here, but they are not the same. They don't have mils quite like this one does, so I would not use them. There's some different reasons for that. You can read them on the website why to use those. So we're going to start off with what tools we're going to grab. We're going to get the Vector 21 rangefinder. Now this is the most important rangefinder you're going to need as any sniper or serious spotter. If you're just a fire team leader and you need to range a quick target, I would grab the Yardage 450. It's simple, easy to use. Maybe you're a tank AT guy and you need to range a target to shoot AT. But the Vector 21 rangefinder is a powerful tool. We're going to cover it in detail here, and it can do a lot of things for you besides just giving you the range. So we're going to grab that. We're going to go grab the MicroDAGR GPS. It's sort of like the dagger in Arma 2 ACE if you played that. The dagger is in here, so we're going to go down to that. Here's the dagger. I'm just going to grab that just to show you guys. And an SSWT kit. Now this is sort of like a shooting rest kit. It's really awesome. And we're going to grab that. We're going to grab the ATragMX. This is a very in-detailed, powerful ballistics calculator. It's one of the most detailed I've ever seen in any game. So it's got a lot to cover. We're going to talk about it and show you guys how to use it here. So we're going to go down and grab some earplugs. We're going to need those. If you're shooting an ACE, you need earplugs, all right? You don't want to go deaf when you're shooting a 50 cal. You don't want to have your ears ringing or anything. We're going to grab Kestrel 4500 NV. Now this is your wind device. It's going to give you wind and weather. It's going to give you a lot of weather information. So it's a must-have. And also a range card is nice. A range card also automatically adjusts to what weapon you're using. So it's good to have if you want to correct for shots manually. So looks like we've got everything here. So yeah, just final check. You've got your gun and scope. Bipod, you're not going to need a bipod for the intervention, but you will need one for other guns. This one has one built in. And to deploy your bipod real quick, you just press C. It's a little glitchy, you know, there's a little bit of some issues on canting on hills and stuff. You'll cant to the right or left, or I'll talk about that a little later, and also you get pushed back here a little bit. But anyway, you're going to need a bipod for long range shooting, and here's this SSWT kit. I'm just going to throw that down real quick just to show you guys. It's really cool. I'm going to have to place that, and it's just going to be placed right in front of you. And you can use it as a shooting rest. And press C, and now you've got a bipod while you're crouched. Now this is awesome. If you want to use this in an urban sniper environment, or you need to shoot over a rock wall in the wilderness or something, it's really useful. So you use your interaction menu here, and you got to back up and pick it back up. All right. So we've got lots of tools here, and we're going to cover them all. And so just make sure you have all these tools as a sniper. And I'm going to get into full ghillie here, and we're going to go over the shooting range and talk about it more right after I cover over the video overview and the website overview. So, thanks guys. I hope you guys stick through the whole video. It's going to be a lot. Hey guys, so I've opened up the website here. We're going to go over the features in Advanced Ballistics. Now, there's a lot of features in different tabs, and we've got like weather and all sorts of other things, medical, lots of great stuff in ACE, and the developers do a great job. Big shout out to Ruthberg, who's pretty much the lead developer for Advanced Ballistics. He does a great job. He's got help, of course. One of the people helping him is T-Rex, Tibosaurus Rex, or however you say it. He's got a Sniper 101 series on YouTube. And now this is based on real world shooting. I highly encourage you to check this out if you don't know what some of these features are. If you don't know much about advanced ballistics or even real world shooting, check these out. They are explained well. It's a lot to take in. If you don't have that kind of time, I'll explain it a little bit in the video, and we can just basically cover enough to shoot well in ACE. But he's a great guy. T-Rex is awesome. I talked to him, and it was pretty cool. He helped me out with this video. He gave me kind of a template what we're going to go over in this video. So next we've got, we're going to get into the features here. I'm going to read them off one by one. So we've got ballistics coefficients, drag modeling based on real-world ballistics coefficients. So that's affecting the drag trajectory of your bullet. It's basically, it's a value, a ballistics coefficient is a value of how well the bullet cuts through air, really, and how it overcomes air resistance in flight. I think that's technical. And then its trajectory plays a lot in play of that. It's either more parabolic or more linear, and you want, of course, more linear versus more parabolic. And basically, it's an important number. We're going to look it up in our range card here, and we're also going to look it up. Actually, we're going to look it up in the weapon database, and we're going to go and plug it in the ATrag, and it's pretty important. Next thing is weather. We've got ambient air density, pretty much weather. You've got air pressure, temperature, and humidity. So all the things affecting air are going to affect your bullet. They're going to affect your drag. We've got air pressure, barometric pressure. You can take a reading with the Kestrel, account for it at your elevation, but there's also multiple pressure zones. That's a little bit more complicated. We'll talk about that later. Temperature is going to affect your powder burn rate. It's going to affect, your muzzle velocity, and basically if you're shooting in hot versus cold scenarios, you're going to have different, the shot's going to be different. So humidity is going to affect your drag. It's going to affect your muzzle velocity, stuff like that. Wind affects drag and it deflects the trajectory. Definitely windage is huge. It was in ACE2. It's in real world. It's the hardest thing to account for, in my opinion. Just wind is always changing. It's going to be, could be sporadic, could be even. So depending on the shooting day, you have a bad shooting day is because the wind is crazy. So we've got wind that's going to affect your drag and trajectory left or right based on crosswinds, and headwinds or tailwinds can affect it up or down. So also we've got wind speed varies with altitude. So depending on where you're shooting in the mountainous region, you've got different altitude, different pressure, humidity. If you're shooting near the coast, you know, flatter altitude, and then you've got wind speed that varies at these different places. So you've got wind currents, wind channels based on weather, clouds, stuff like that. So it's really cool. Also, it's going to be based off terrain features, building, and other objects. They're going to disrupt the wind. So basically, bushes, trees, rocks, buildings, they're going to block the wind currents or block wind and kind of play into your trajectory. Now, not very much, but it is built into the game. He built it in the code. Roughness variables, I might talk about that, I might not. It's just sort of a complicated thing. They're going to affect where you're shooting from, where your bullet's going to travel through. Say you're shooting through a city, you're an urban sniper, you want to shoot from the top floor of a building, and the bullet's going to pass through a street and hit a target in a second story. There's a lot to take in. You know, you've got wind currents on the streets, you've got buildings, you've got a high roughness variable pretty much that's going to affect your wind rating. So next thing we've got is Magnus effect, spin drift. It's huge in real world. It's pretty constant. It's a steady number. You can plug it into the ATragMX, and we're going to talk about that. And it's going to be easy to account for because we've got our ballistics calculator. Next, we've got the Coriolis effect, Earth's rotation. That is seen in some other games, but just mentioned and never really accounted for. So it's pretty huge. And Coriolis effect is basically going to affect your bullet left or right. And actually, since we're in the northern hemisphere, we're going to be in the 40 degree of latitude in Altus in Greece, and I'm pretty sure you correct left. I'm not sure. We'll get into that, and it'll be plugged into the ATragMX, and that's basically the Coriolis effect. It's a pretty steady number for long range shooting. Loss of stability during transonic flight. Now that's when you're shooting past your maximum effective range. You're going to be encountering some crazy variables that are going to affect your bullet when it goes subsonic. You're going to get it's pretty much going to be impossible to calculate past maximum effective range. Now, it's not impossible, you could, but it's just too crazy. And so you're going to want to know what you're capable of with what rifle, what cartridge you're using. So this is important. It wasn't in ACE2, so now it's here in ACE3. And we've also got variable muzzle velocity based on power to burn rate and barrel length. That's huge. Muzzle velocity, we're going to talk about that, how it affects your trajectory of your bullet, when it's going to die. You could affect the lethality of your bullet. In fact, if you want to kill your target through a surface or something, you want to penetrate it and kill them with a 50 cal, you got to know what velocity, how much is going to drop, stuff like that. Powder burn rate's affected by temperature. It's going to affect your initial muzzle velocity, and you're going to have barrel length. We're going to check our barrel length on the weapon database, and we're going to plug that into the ATrag. Next thing, we've got the bullet trace effect for supersonic bullets. Now that's for spotters really, or actually snipers if you just want to watch where your bullet's going. Hopefully there's a light bullet trace effect you can see. You can see where your bullet hits, you can see the splash, correct off that. You know, you see what you did wrong if you missed, or see how it arced into the target. Protractor is just a simple little tool, a little primitive. And anyway, basically lots of complicated stuff. Go ahead and definitely check out Sniper 101 again. If you don't feel like doing that, just stick along with the whole video, and we're going to explain some of these lightly, not greatly in detail, but we're going to use the ATragMX a lot of the time. All right, thanks guys. Let's go ahead and get on with it. Hey guys, so we're on the range here. I've got a target at 100 meters. I'm going to check here, 100 meters exactly. That's important. I'm going to check the wind here. We've got zero. Oh, okay, a little bit of wind here. Before it was dying down. So basically you want a place with no wind, completely flat, a target at exactly 100 meters, and you want to set your true zero. And now setting your true zero basically means you're not going to trust the game that it has the proper zero built in, and I didn't. This is all to the advice of T-Rex, who actually helped me with this. He said you need to do this to be a proper shooter. And so basically get some time in, guys, get some practice in on the range, just as you would in real life. You do it in the game here. Maybe it's a little too much immersion for you, but it's actually what's required if you want to be dead accurate. So we've got a target at 100 meters here, and looks like my zero is pretty spot on. That's because I did set it before, and my wind speed was at 0.0. I believe you can disable wind deflection for this, so you can go in the editor and disable that. But for right now, I actually have wind enabled, and I just got lucky, and it was 0 meter per second wind. We're going to talk a little bit about user factors real quick. Basically, you guys know most of the stuff is breathing, you know, scope sway, you've got heart rate. Actually, heart rate doesn't really factor into it, but it does play, in fact, into stamina. So if you're running a lot and you're fatigued, you're not going to shoot well. If you're injured, you're not going to shoot well. So definitely you need to be full health, you can be well rested in your shooting position, comfortable, and that's when you shoot. And basically when you're in a steady, you're breathing, you hold on right mouse button, as you see we're steadied here, and then you let go and your guy seems to just have a seizure. It's pretty silly. You can't hold your breath that long, but you've got a window of opportunity when you need to take the shot. And stance is another thing that's important. You want to shoot from prone when possible, always crouched, bipoded, standing only if it's an absolute necessity, and preferably bipoded then too. So these are basically your user factors. You guys know them from just vanilla Arma. One last thing some people don't take note of is trigger pull, actually. You are using a mouse, and when you hit your left mouse button, you do not want to pull to the left or to the right the last millisecond. That might be from bad shooter habit, or just, you know, your hand's a little sensitive and you jerk the mouse a little bit. So you want to tone your sensitivity to the right one. That's basically trigger pull in real life is trigger pull in the video game is pressing your mouse button. Basically, user factors are not nearly as complex as they would be in real life, but they are pretty complex. So you're going to factor those in Arma here, and so we've covered user factors. We're going to go over to a shooting range. Actually, we're going to find a place in the mountains. We're going to talk about choosing a shooting location, and we're going to use our vector rangefinder now that we've got our zero properly adjusted. So definitely have your zero properly adjusted. And to do that, oh, I almost forgot. You go to self-interaction menu, equipment, and it should be right here. My interaction menu is pretty cluttered. I think you have to have your gun out, adjust something, not leave it at 0.0, and there you go. Set zero adjustment in the big clutter of words here, but you can see it, and I wouldn't do it now because I'd be screwed up. So basically, you get the adjustment right as you're shooting. You correct each mill. You know, you want to get up, you page up, and you're adjusting as you're shooting. Just keep practicing and shooting and seeing until you're dead accurate. And so I found actually the 408 shade tack to be truly zeroed at 0.8 or 0.7. So go ahead and add 0.7 if you want to do it real quick. And I had zero wind, and I also had a target. I did it right here, and basically I set my zero for 0.8. So that's the new zero for the 408 if you want to plug that in if you're using this weapon. All right, we're going to go ahead and get along here, guys. Thanks. Hey guys, so we're up in the mountains here, and we're going to be talking about choosing a sniper position in Arma 3 ACE, basically just based off taking a wind reading, and we're not going to talk about concealment and things like that and stuff you need to know as a proper sniper and knowledge you need to know, in fact, of that, but actually we're just going to do it based off, you know, if you're not canted with your bipod and if you take a proper wind reading. So first off, I'm going to example to you how, see, as I move in the bush, top left here, if I press Shift K, first of all, Shift K gives you a wind arrow, and you can take wind readings, but say you're in a bush, you're not going to get a proper wind reading, as you see. So, and also you're going to get different wind values, as you see. If I'm right here, the color of the arrow is lighter than here. So there's actually, it's color-coded. You can check it on the website, the arrow anyway. So basically, your wind is going to be interrupted by bushes, rocks to a degree, and their altitude, of course. So basically you want a proper shooting position in the open that you can get a good wind reading, and I say right about here is a good place. And here's a good place because you can also put your bipod, deploy it, and you're pretty flat here. So I've got a target already marked out here, and basically we're going to use the vector now and go over the vector. But basically that's it for ranging, or for choosing a spot. You want somewhere, you know, that maybe if you're worried about concealment, you need to take that into account with your sniper spotter and talk about it, talk about where you're gonna locate. And so on the map here, we're at 078 078166. So we're right about here somewhere. So when you are planning a sniper mission, you want to obviously plan a firing position with cover and stuff, and an exfil point and all that stuff. But we check the time of day. You want to predict weather. You want to take weather readings into account. and know the kind of weather patterns that's going to happen during the day. Wind picks up at certain parts of the day and dies down, and also temperature. So basically that's a lot to take in, but we're going to get into the vector here. So once we've got our position, let's go ahead and find our target. There it is. So you can hold down R, let go, and there's our range, 1,044 meters, 1,144. You hold down Tab and you get a bearing, so 7 degrees nearly north directly. So if you hold down Tab and R at the same time, you get the values at the same time, but you also send the data to the ATragMX, your ballistics calculator. So you need to do this whenever you want to send the data over to the ATrag and keep that data locked in there so you can calculate off it, because they are connected, the ATrag and this vector. So definitely Tab and R at the same time is what you want to do. But also you can get a lot of other features from this. You can hit R twice, double tap it real fast, let go of R. Now we've got the target true distance, or the horizontal distance from me to that target on a map, pretty much. And that's important because you need to take this. This is the rather number you'd want to account for in your ballistics calculator, 1,141 meters. Now that's not, that's nowhere near as different as 1,044, so it's really not a big deal. But when you're shooting at steep inclinations or declinations, you want to use this number, definitely, because you're taking elevation difference into account here. Now you can see the target elevation is negative 77 meters below my elevation. That's what it's saying here. So it's in meters and it's above sea level. So you can basically, I can open my dagger real quick and we'll talk about the dagger later. Elevation 252 meters above sea level. And there we go. You can see that there, 252. And basically this is negative 77 below me. So it's about 175, I would say. So yeah, basically this is a good way to get target elevation, true distance, and also there's some other features here. You hold on Tab and tap Tab and then hold it down and then press R, tap R, okay? So we've got first point, that's what it's saying here. So we keep, it marked our first point as that target. Now we go over here and we let go of Tab. Now it's giving us the bearing from that point to that point. So, and it's also giving us the distance from that point to that point. So this is extremely useful for spotters. If you're watching a fire team and they're moving up on a city and you see a sniper and maybe you don't have a shot or something, you see a gun barrel, you say target 41 degrees from your guy's location, 175 meters up the hill, 41 degrees. You can give them an instant bearing and distance to target from where they are to the enemy. So it's definitely very useful for spotters. It's a complicated tool. I mean, this is a great tool. It's a good feature. So also you can hold down Tab, press Tab twice, and we've got, and I'm holding it down. So you hit Tab twice, and now as you see on the right here, we've got our inclination angle or declination angle changing. So our angle of fire is really changing. It's pretty much a protractor, but I like this much better because it's much more easier to use and it's more accurate. So let's bring out our protractor just to show you guys. Control-Shift-K. Actually, you have to have a weapon out to use it. I just found that out. So you have to press Control-Shift-K. Top left, as you see, same sort of thing. It's measuring your angle of fire, and this is useful for if you want to play some trigonometry into figuring into a manual shot. If you have no ballistics calculator and you want to manually adjust for an elevation difference, you're going to need either the target's elevation with that vector, or you're going to need your angle of fire. And so it's really kind of a artifact. You're not really going to use it much, but it's just a little tool here. On the right side, the numbers represent the same numbers as the left side. It's just broken up for accuracy, so don't get confused on the left numbers versus the right numbers. They're the same thing, just degrees up and down. So basically it's the same thing here. We're going to close our that. So basically you guys know a lot about the vector now. You've got you know, range, Tab, and this was all pulled from the website. So let's go ahead and Shift Tab, and here we go. Vector overview. It's on the website. And guys, this will just explain it all to you. You've got, you know, distance to target, azimuth to target, Horizontal, that's pretty much true distance. And vertical distance to target. Distance between two targets, awesome. Angle between two targets, awesome. And you can switch some degrees and stuff. So it'll give you all the instructions here. So that's where I read it from. I'll link that in the description as well. Just check out the website. And after we're done with the vector now, let's go ahead and move on to the Kestrel, the dagger, and other good tools like this. Hey guys, so we're gonna open up our dagger here, MicroDAGR. We're gonna hit home, and basically this little device is something that replaces the Arma 2 ACE dagger. Now we still have that, but the MicroDAGR is a little bit easier to use, and it's just got a nice little interface here. You can leave it open if you're running around. You can get your active speed, 18 kilometers per hour is sprinting, and we've got our bearing, active bearing. We can call out targets pretty fast if we've got this bearing open, rather than our compass open blocking our screen the whole time. So a little bit useful there. And you can hit home again and customize it. And so we can go through and leave it on a more accurate compass and have that instead, or we can go through here and there's a little map here. So you can actually keep this map open. And this is pretty important because you can't do the normal map as you would in vanilla, Arma vanilla without ACE. I believe you can press Control M and bring up a little map in the corner, but now you have to do it with the MicroDAGR. So we've got that here. And so there's other things you can do too. You get your sea level elevation here, meters above sea level, 240. So that's an accurate value there. Not sure how accurate. I think you can get some different values from somewhere else, say the Kestrel or something. So let's click in the top left here, and you get a menu. So first thing is settings, leave these the same. You've got angular degrees, so that's basically your bearing, and waypoints. Yeah, you're gonna want waypoints. You can connect it to your vector. We'll get to that real quick. You can mark waypoints. This is awesome. So you can mark, you can enter in grid coordinates and set that as a waypoint, and then you can add grid coordinates as waypoints there. So you can mark things on the map if you found it, or set waypoints to move to on the map. So it's good for navigation. Spotter might want to have this handy as the sniper team is moving to the firing position. So connect to. Now this connects to your vector. It's got the little laser signal there. So here's what I brought up earlier. Say you hit R, let go. Got a range, nothing in there, but once you hit tab and R at the same time, there you go, it's plugged in. Now we've got pretty much the values of the vector built into the MicroDAGR. We've got a range of 0.5 kilometers, so it's not accurate as you see, but really the main, it'll give you the target elevation too. That's pretty cool. So you've got, you know, a 165 meters above sea level of the target elevation. This is another way, you know, if you don't want to do it with the vector, you can do it with the vector connected with the MicroDAGR. Easier to read here. And at the bottom, you've got the target grid coordinates. So this is really useful. You want to call out a target. We've got, for artillery, you know, we've got a tank at 078148. Or, you know, you call that in for airstrike or something, or spotter. Or you can call it up for ground team. So it's a useful little tool here to connect it to your vector and use it like that. So we can control home to close it, and home just to leave it open. So there we go. And next we're going to move on to the Kestrel. And now Kestrel is a huge tool. It's a kind of a weather tool in general, and it's got a lot of features and besides just giving the wind. So let's go up here where we're going to shoot from. Let's I think it was right here. We've got that target out there, and let's go ahead and hit our self interaction menu. You can do it from here. Mine's really clustered, so I actually bound special keys to open it up. As you see, you can have it open like this, and actually this is at temperature. I was checking the temperature. You can set it to the home screen. Here we go. You can leave it open. We've got a clock, and it tells you what time and year, and then we can navigate from here. We've got lots of menus here, and basically what I'm doing, guys, is opening and expecting the Kestrel with some self-interaction menus I bound. So let's go to Controls, Configure Add-ons, ACE3 Equipment, and here you go. You can bind it to your numpad, delete stuff, vanilla stuff. So we can open it here, and we've got our time. We've got our direction, bearing. So let's check how accurate that is. Let's say we're facing true north, and we open this. This is maybe a little more accurate, or maybe a little less. Yeah, it's a little more. So if I go right on the 0, nice. Okay, so we've got our direction, bearing there. Wind speed. This is kind of a generalized wind speed. It includes, I think, the headwind and crosswind, and so we've only got a headwind right now. So you hit down again, we've got the crosswind and meters per second, and it's at 0 because we have no crosswind from left to right. We only have a 1.9 meters per second headwind, and you can actually set a an average for that. You can click this, hit stop, and the average is 0 because we don't have a headwind. But let's go down to headwind and hit the center button, and we're taking an average here. Leave it open if you want. Spotter can leave this open, monitor wind changes if it's fluctuating. You hit stop, and you've got an average value in here, so it's a little bit useful. And you can set the heading. This is important. You're going to want to hit auto set heading. This is where we're facing. We're facing the target. Actually, let's make sure. Let's see where our target is real quick. Yep, so let's go. And now we have a little bit of a crosswind because actually we're facing a different way. So we hit that center button a few times, and we're at 7 degrees heading. We can set it manually if possible, if needed. If you're a spotter and you want to set it manually for your sniper, say you're next to him, like right about here, and you want to set it so it's manually the exact same bearing, that's useful. So we've got 7 degrees, and we've got that set. We've got a 0 per second crosswind, so I guess we're just kind of fluctuating here. We've got a headwind of 1.6 meters per second, and so not too bad. That's pretty slight. And we can go down here through temperature. Now temperature is going to affect your shot. It's going to affect your muzzle velocity. It's going to affect your powder burn rate mainly. So 20.5 is very good. It's right next to 21, which is basically the standard value for the 910 muzzle velocity of the 408 JTAC. So it's a good value. Wind chill, it actually doesn't affect your shot at all. It's just a feature of the Kestrel. So humidity, that's going to be talked about with the range card. It's going to affect your shot in the temperature wise, and also just drag wise. If there's more moisture in the air, it's going to slow your bullet down more. So 54 is actually pretty good. It's going to rain probably later. Whoa, there's a 50% chance really. And we've got heat index. Now this doesn't really affect your shot. It does affect how much you could be fatigued. Higher heat index means you could fatigue easier in the heat if you're running around a lot. Dew point, nothing, doesn't affect you. Wet bulb does not affect you. Those are just sort of Kestrel weather features. It's all realistic based on the real world Kestrel. So barometric pressure in hectopascals. Now we've got it 981. This is important. You're going to plug this into the ATragMX, this value here, and we're going to need this, and it's going to do a lot with your air pressure and your bullet, how it behaves when it's traveling through the air. And we've got our altitude of 252. I'm going to hit home, 252. So it's pretty much the same. Oops. So our altitude density. Now this is saying what altitude you should be at based off your barometric pressure reading, kind of. It's kind of a guesstimate, and I think this is useful for I'm not sure what actually. Might not. You don't have to mess with it too much. But just basically focus on that. I think you could plug this in somewhere in the ATrag if you want to get a different type of calculation. But got a user screen here. It gives you our bearing, 7 degrees north, 252 meters above sea level, and 1.6 wind. So you can leave that open, and there you go. That's a nice little user screen to leave open. And user screen 2 gives you some weather related stuff. Now this isn't going to change much over time, so I don't know. That's not very useful. So there's our home screen. So let's leave it on wind speed. So we can open up our wind speed and just check it all the time. And we've already pressed Shift K, so we have our wind arrow up in the top left, and it's 1.6. So these values are all going to be important in our ATragMX, which we're going to cover next. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so we're going to get into it here. We're going to learn the ATrag, and then we're going to dial in for our scope and take the shot. So I'm going to make a note that the wind conditions did change since I last recorded, so we do have some stronger winds here. So let's go ahead and go into the ATrag. And so this is a very powerful ballistics calculator in ACE. It's probably the most important tool for a sniper to have, really, in ACE, and we're going to go through it here. So let's go through the gun list. You're going to want to find your gun, and ours is the 408 SHATAC. We're going to grab that, and so it's going to preload a lot of values for you and calculate a lot for you, so you don't have to do that. And here we've got some different methods of calculating. We've got metric, English, and dual. And metric is meters, of course. English is yards and inches. And we've got dual, which has some metric values, stars here. So let's just keep it on metric and stick with that. I'm going to go through our range card. Now this is a kind of a range card from ACE2, something like it, and we can set it up here and start our start range and end range and increments and stuff. So it's a little bit more customizable. It just gives you some elevation drop values and time of flight. Maybe time of flight is something you're going to want to check, and make sure, you know, when you're shooting at a target at this distance, you're going to want to know how long it takes for the bullet to get there, depending on your current velocity and things like that. So another thing is wind, and it's kind of calculating wind based off some values I have in there already. We're going to change those. But basically, yeah, this is a nice little range card calculated in mils. We can change that as well, and from down here. So you can change from mils to true minutes of angle, or shooter minutes of angle, or clicks. And I just stick to mils, but some people like MOA, but you can't really adjust for MOA on your scope, so I don't see why. But true minutes angle and shooter minutes angle, it's just there's a different, there's a little discrepancy there. One's 0.97, and like one's 1 inch. And anyway, they're not that important. You can Google them if you want. And we're going to go ahead and get into the gun list. So we've got all these variables here, and now these correspond to the abbreviations, of course. So we've got our bore height, which is 3.81 centimeters. That's just 3.8 centimeters above the barrel. Is where the optic is mounted, so that's going to stay the same for all ACE guns. Next is bullet weight and bullet diameter. Now these are plugged in already because it knows the cartridge you're using, so it's got that in there for us, and the ballistics coefficient as well, the rifle twist, the muzzle velocity, and zero range. So all these things you can double check. And now what I'm going to do is bring up a JIT hub. Alt Shift Tab here, and I'm going to give you guys this in the description, and basically 2 links to a JIT hub, and you can search your rifle. And so I searched LRR for 408, and we've got the barrel twist here for the gun list. And let's see, barrel twist, yeah, 33.02, so it's the same. And we've got our ammo list. We've got things like the caliber in millimeters, I believe, and we've got other things like the ballistics coefficient. You want to double check that. Yeah, 0.97, that's good. Ammo temperature, muzzle velocity shift. So that's if you want to know how your muzzle velocity changes with temperature changes, this is very useful. But we're also going to check that with the range card. So this is just sort of back-end information if you want to double check stuff and make sure it's all correct. Because if anything in here is wrong, it's going to throw off your shot. So I think we're good with that. And next, we're going to go into atmosphere. So now, if you plug in atmospheric values from your Kestrel, the ATrag is going to calculate it all for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So We're going to go ahead and go with TBH, and that is the temperature, barometric pressure, and humidity calculation. And there's also altitude and temperature, and either one's fine. This one is actually more accurate, but this one is better if you have these values. So let's go ahead and double check. Our altitude is 252, temperature is 24.9. So let's see, temperature, let's check our temperature real quick, 24.8. So yeah, the same. And then our elevation is 252, so we're good. So that's actually correct right now. And then temperature, 24.9. Barometric pressure was 981 as I checked. But I'll just show you guys how to check real quick. You go into here, and you scroll till you get barometric pressure, and here it is. And you plug that in, 981. Relative humidity, 40%. Let's check that real quick. Yeah, so it's still 40. So we're good, and this will calculate for all the weather. And so that's why you need your Kestrel to plug numbers in there. And here we've got multiple targets you can set up if you are pre-ranging targets as a spotter, if you're in a sniper position and you have locations that enemies may appear, or you have multiple targets that you want to all do the math first and then start taking the shots sequentially so they don't have time to react or something. So that's a nice little feature there. And we've got target here. This is the last tab, and we're going to go through this and change some things in here that are important. Latitude is our line on the map, actually, like on a globe. From the equator we're actually 40 degrees latitude rather than 38. So we're going to enter that, make sure it's 40. All right. Direction of fire, that's our bearing. Oops, and I'm going to check our bearing real quick by hitting the Kestrel. You can go to direction 7. So yeah, we're facing the target. You want to check you're facing the target and make sure your direction is the same. So it's about 7. So yeah, it's going to be good. And direction of fire 7. Wind speed, we're going to check that real quick with the Kestrel. Wind direction, we've got Shift K in the top left here. We've got a right to left crosswind. Inclination angle, see it. So basically stuff in here is going to do with your vector. Let me show you that real quick. You bring out your vector, and like I said earlier, you want to hit Tab R at the same time, and that is going to send this, oh, oops, that was wrong. It's going to send this information to the ATrag. So now that we've got that sent, once you've hit Tabbed R, then it will do that math for you and in the ATrag already. So you've got the inclination angle built in, target range already appeared, and we've got other things like target speed if the target is moving right to left to right. It's kind of hard to plug in on the fly if the target really is moving. So I don't know how practical that is, but if you have the time, you might want to do that. Wind speed and wind direction. So now we're going to have to change these, and let's check our Kestrel for our wind speed and wind direction. We've got a 0 meter per second headwind. Overall wind speed 0.1. Great wind right now. 0 crosswind, 0 headwind practically. So we're going to want to take the shot as soon as possible. Guys, so if you had a worse shooting day, if there's more wind, you're going to want to include the high and the low value. Actually, no, the low and the high. 1 is low, 2 is high. So say our low is 0.0, our high is 0.1, so we'll just throw that in. Wind direction is our 3 o'clock up here. You see you've got 12, 1, 2, 3. So it's a 3 o'clock wind, 4, 5, 6, So you just enter that in. So if you want to do calculations for the headwind and the crosswind separately, you're going to actually need to do that if you have serious values. Since we don't need to do that. But say you have a crosswind of 4 meters per second, you're going to want to plug that in as a crosswind, first of all, 4 meters per second, high and low, if that is not changing too much. Wind direction, you're going to input that. Take the value, put it in your scope, and then re-enter the wind value of your headwind or crosswind, however strong that is, and delete these and put in your headwind and crosswind. So basically you're going to run it through the ATrag twice. You're going to get more values that you're going to add onto your wind, and basically just a little more complicated if you want to make sure your shot is dead on and you've got some strong wind conditions. But other than that, headwind and tailwind are not going to affect your shot that much, although at greater distances and greater winds they are. So we've got next to nothing wind here. It's telling us to correct 8.3 up elevation, and relative is it's just doing the math for you, and once you update it, that'll tell you what your scope is on currently. Basically, this is useful for if you're doing other methods of calculation like clicks. You can say I'm on this click, but basically just look at this value here. It's saying it needs you to correct to 8.3 absolute and wind 0.29 left. So I think that's about at latest for a moving target, and we are good here. So now we're going to go into scope correction, guys, and so you hit page up and page down to adjust your elevation mils, and shift page up and page down to do it faster by 1 clicks, and then control page up and page down, and then control shift page up and page down, and these will adjust your windage mils. So as we looked at it, it was 0.3 to the left, so we're going to hit control down, page down to 0.3, and then what's next is 8.3 up. So here's something I'm going to make a note of, guys. You're going to want to make sure your 0 is set correctly, like I said earlier, and your set 0 adjustment, like I showed earlier, that's actually going to reset every time you start a new mission. So guys, when you start a new mission, you want to apply what you learned on the shooting range and apply that to your rifle you're using. Since we know the SHATAC uses 0.8, we can adjust to, I actually already did it here on this mission, but you adjust to 0.8 and you set the weapon 0 as I showed earlier. You're going to want to do that every time you start a new mission, or else it's going to be lost every time you change. So, and if you do not account for the 0 discrepancy here, you just trust the game 0, you will possibly miss your target, as I might show you here, because I did miss a target because I had the 0 reset after I changed mission. So we've got that set anyway, and we've got everything plugged in. It looks like we're almost about ready to shoot. Here's a little thing, check weapon temperature if you want to do that, and we are good. It's cold, nice cold bore shot, and so basically as your gun gets hotter, it's going to mess with variation in velocity a little more. Oh, speaking about that, let's actually go into our range card, last thing. I'm going to hit 4, my frames are phrasing here. I've got a range card. So this is the range card we picked up earlier. It gives you these temperature values and velocity for each one. So this is very important if you want to change your velocity. And let's see, what is our temperature again? Let's check our temperature, double check, 24.1. Now the ATrag, I believe, does a lot of this for you, but you're going to want to double check. And so 24, that's almost 25, so 916 is really what we want to be at, maybe 915. So we're going to put in 915 as muzzle velocity. So there we go. And that actually changed this quite a bit. Actually, it's not 8.4 anymore, it's saying 8.2. So we're going to go down to, I'm going to leave it at 8.3 just to be safe. Better to hit a little higher than lower. And so actually, I don't know, I'll bring it down to 8.2. And we're going to go ahead and fire. And so I'm going to tune in with you guys right after this, and we're going to fire the shot. Okay, so right before we shoot, I'm going to cover the range card real quick. We're going to hit our range card keys, going to bring it open. I have it bound, And so we've got this important tool. I mentioned it a little earlier, showed it a little bit, but really the most important stuff is the weather information, the temperatures, and how your muzzle velocity shifts with each variable here. So since we're at 24 degrees roughly, we're going to want 915 muzzle velocity. And so you're going to want to bring this out and check what you're shooting at, what temperature you're shooting at. Some other information is for like wind, a standard 4 meter per second wind, and a 1 meter per second lead for moving targets. So this is important if you want to calculate for this stuff manually without the ATragMX. Say you get a 2 meter per second wind reading, you can half the values here and then it's usable. But anyway, there's some ratio, some math you're gonna have to do, interpolation in between data points. It's a lot more complicated when you're doing it all manually and if you want to be dead on accurate. So basically our important information was gained from the muzzle velocity shift in the range card. So let's go ahead and check our wind. We've got a 0.8 per second headwind. Now that's actually wrong, it's actually a tailwind because it's coming from back left to right. So it's about, looks like 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So we're gonna have to input that in as the wind is changing all the time during making this recording. So I'm gonna put the bottom wind speed as 0.1, top wind speed is 0.8, 0.9 looks like. And we have a crosswind, a slight one. So, you know, things are going to change dealing with wind. It is important to account for this sort of stuff, but obviously you want to make your shot in time, so you don't want to spend too much time. Wind direction is coming from the 8 o'clock, so we're going to hit done. So, interestingly enough, it's telling us to account for to the left a little more, 0.31 left. So we should be good here. We're going to go ahead and fire and try to hit our target first try. Now if I do miss, that is because the wind is acting a little funny, so even though it's not very powerful wind right now, so it died down to look like 0. But we're going to go ahead and shoot. I'm going to keep my bullet path tracing on so you guys can see the velocity drop with color coded, and I'm going to hold my breath. Ooh, total miss. So it's up high to the right. So when you're going to shoot and say you're a sniper and you miss your shot like that, your spotter is going to call it out and say, you know, 1 meter right, adjust left, and then you're going to adjust based off splash, fire again, and hit the target. It barely nicked him there. Would have killed him maybe, possibly. So I'm going to fire a third shot, holding off pretty far to the right here. So definitely the wind, this is the wind acting up. We've got our crosswind coming into play and a headwind. It's a tailwind. Ooh. Yeah, so we've got a tailwind kind of picking up and messing us up here. So, you know, it's just something you're going to have to know that wind is going to mess up shots at long range. At 1100 meter target, it's going to be hard to hit them with wind. But just try to do your best, your very best to hit first shot. But if you can't, then your spotter is always there to call out and correct for you. And so that's the next thing I'm talking about is corrections and scope corrections if you miss, which we just did. You want to evaluate based off splash and bullet trace effect if you can see that. So now if you can see the bullet trace effect, I can't really hear, but hopefully you can. There you go. I see it. I mean, I see where it impacts. I see the splash, but I don't see much of a heat trail behind it. Anyway, these are things you're going to take note of when you're shooting. If you miss, you're going to reaccount for that. Looks like we could adjust far more to the left. Looks like if we do control page down, let's go ahead and bring it to 0.5 and see if that's more accurate here. No, we're still hitting to the right, so we're going to do 0.8. How about that? Let's try that. Ooh, right in the head. So, yeah, it's more accurate. 0.8 looks like. So it's really the wind acting up. And you're dealing with lots of stuff here. Multiple crosswinds could be coming into play. A true wind reading is because I'm taking a wind reading here, standing up, but once the bullet travels and arcs up into the sky, you've got more wind up here, and that's going to affect your shot. You've got multiple crosswinds maybe blowing through this valley here, and multiple pressure zones even. I think barometric pressure is probably pretty even around this elevation, but might be different a little bit. So there's a lot of things just based off even doing all the math correctly and inputting everything correctly, you might miss just like that. So anyway, we did end up killing the target, and hopefully you want to do it fast enough so before it escapes. And definitely a spotter is very handy and helpful. And so actually we're going to get onto that. So and the conclusion here, I'm going to show a little clip of me and a spotter, Lauren, Luke, and we're going to do a little sniper mission and just wrap up the video here. All right, thanks guys. Hey guys, it's Seriously again, and we're out here on Stratus, and we're going to be doing a co-op sniper mission and taking out a officer in a compound, communal firing range. So first off is my buddy Luke here. He's Lauren Luke on the Slack developer chat room. I met him on, and he's going to be our spotter today. Go ahead and say hi.
Hello.
And right now we are going to get ready for the shot, or actually going to get into our firing position. Let's go ahead and put our earplugs in and set our 0.
Yeah.
Dial up to 7.7.
Point 0.7 or 0.8?
0.7.
Okay.
And set 0.
And that's 0. Okay.
All
I'm good.
Let's move. All right, I can see the range pretty well. Let's move up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, here's this here is actually a pretty flat spot without any huge amounts of grass, so whether or not we engage him here or we might be able to move up and
This is pretty
move
good.
up and then
I like this. Yeah, I have eyes on the some guards in there.
yeah, I count 3 though. The one on the right, I get a roof in the way. Also, there appears to be an individual, like, if you look at the palms to the right out in front of the base, there's one just standing in that clearing, and then by the base entrance, I got an IFV and guy behind the sign and a guy to the left of him.
Yeah, we got lots of guards, and we also got the armored vehicles. One of them's on patrol, looks like.
Yeah. Heavy
Oh, I see
machine
the
gun
officer.
or
Officer.
GMG.
Officer's bearing
Oh yeah.
bearing 79 or so. Let me bring out my rangefinder. Bearing 80. So yeah, he's moving up to the guards. I'm gonna pre-range.
About 1060, around 1050 meters. So
Yeah, so he's moving up to the guards. Let's wait till he stops again and then take a good reading with him with tab R.
he stopped.
Got it. Nice, all right.
Okay, I took a true range. So I got a minus 211 and a 1018 where he was. So
Okay, oh, that's good, 1018, I gotta remember that. Let's first do our atmosphere tab. Let me bring up the weather.
okay, I'm gonna open the range card. So if you're getting desyncs,
20 degrees Celsius,
20 degrees Celsius. Okay.
roughly 20.7, and then humidity 61.3.
All right, let me plug that in my
Barometric
ATrag.
pressure 988. So 20.7, 61.3, 988.
Okay. Done.
Wind speed looks like about combined of 1 meter per second. I'll take it again standing up though.
Just for our muzzle velocity, we're looking at about 908.
Yeah. Let's do
So
908.
you want to plug that in if you don't already.
Alright, I'm going to leave in... I don't think we should account for true range, though I'm not sure. I don't know if the ATrag already does that because it has the inclination angle built in.
Yeah.
I think it already does that.
Plus, anytime you use the vector, even with a true range find, it still uses the standard laser range. So
79 degree facing. I'm going to take a wind reading now, standing up, and I'm going to set a heading.
yeah, set your heading. Looks like it's coming from an 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we've got a 0 meter per second crosswind, 1.6 meters per second headwind from the 11. So
And you said the low was 1, and we got 1.6. I'm gonna bump it up to 1.9, just because you have we're on top of a hill. That shouldn't be a problem. Because sometimes the open area might have a stronger wind value.
I'm going with 1.2 and 1.8 and 11 o'clock.
Okay, I got 1 and 7.
I think I'm ready.
At
So
11
it
o'clock.
says just 7 up and 0.4 to the left. I think I'm ready for the shot.
Okay.
I'm gonna double check things. He's on his cycle again. So once he comes back to that guard, I'll let you know.
Okay. Scooch over it. Try and not get as much grass in the way. That didn't work at all.
Yeah, I think I've got a pretty good wind setting.
You want me to just have you shoot, or you want me to join you?
Go ahead and follow up with the subsequent shot. So watch my heat trail and then fire.
Okay, and what did you say your setting was?
Well, I just need
Up
7
7?
up, yeah, and then 0.4 to the left. Alright, everything should be right. I don't see him quite yet. He's probably going to move into view pretty soon.
There he is.
Yep. Actually, if you want to just watch my heat trail, tell me how far I missed by, and then fire if he's still there.
Okay. The heat trail effects don't show up the greatest on my computer, so I may not be able to see it. I could probably see a bullet splash, but
Just go ahead and read whatever you can and then fire before he gets away. Hopefully I hit first time.
yeah.
Alright, getting ready.
Okay, don't hold your breath too long.
Firing soon.
Fire.
Ooh, right in the face!
Keys down.
Yeah, let's move. That's a kill shot
Let's
for
get
sure.
out of here. Good hit.
Thanks. He took it to the dome. That
Thought
was
they'd tell
funny.
you to aim center of mass.
I did. I hit high.
Oh well, I'm not
Could have been
complaining.
just a
He's
parabolic
down.
arc.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, I aimed center of mass and I hit high, but it worked. That's of course why you aim center of mass.
All right.
I saw the heat trail a little bit too. It was nice. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
let's-
So here, I'm gonna bring the video to a close here, and as you see, we took out the officer. And guys, I hope you learned a lot throughout this video, and I hope you apply this knowledge to your ACE missions and can make a timely and accurate shot. Hopefully, first shot, first kill. So, good job sticking with me here, guys, throughout the whole video, and have fun and good luck.